Hey everyone, this is Mason Hutchison and you're listening to Herb Rally. Our goal for the show is to help you along your herbalist journey no matter what stage you're at. Today's episode is another edition of the Herbalist Hour, and in this one I'm joined by Benjamin Zappin. So Ben is the co-founder of Five Flavors Herbs along with his wife Ingrid Bauer, who was also previously on the Herbalist Hour. In this episode you can expect to learn what a young Ben was like, his herbal origins, the virtues of California poppy and yerba mansa, what it's like to operate an herbal pharmacy, and if it's even okay to call it a pharmacy, advice for the budding herbal entrepreneur, and a whole lot more. If you'd like to learn more about Ben and his work, you could go to fiveflavorsherbs.com. That's flavors plural, fiveflavorsherbs.com. And you could give them a follow on Instagram at fiveflavorsherbs. So a huge thank you to Ben for joining me on the show. Also, before we get into the interview, I want to tell you about the upcoming Plant Spirit Apprenticeship, Winter-Spring 2024, brought to you by Nativa Medica. And your lead instructor is Gene Schneider. And this one focuses on flowers. So there's a unique magic that flowers hold, long recognized by healers. Along with mediumship with the plant and tree flowers, you'll also work with the practical partnerships for everyday living. How might a plant or tree flower be willing to partner with you? Flower preparations will emerge in your work. You'll be sent ample flower materials to make your own preparations and discover how they work with you. So the registration deadline for the Plant Spirit Apprenticeship with Nativa Medica is December 9th, 2023. So that's coming up. I will be sure to leave a link in the podcast show notes at the very tippy top, or you could go to nativamedica.com. And just FYI, I interviewed Gene Schneider on the Herbalist Hour just a couple episodes back. So if you'd like to learn more about her and her work, that episode is a great place to start. So one more time, deadline is December 9th, 2023 to register for the Plant Spirit Apprenticeship Flowers. Also, before we get into the show, I'd like to say a huge thank you to our presenting sponsor, and that is Oshala Farm. If you're looking to buy organically grown, U.S. grown medicinal herbs, look no further than oshalafarm.com. That's O-S-H-A-L-A farm.com. So they grow and sell over 80 different varieties, over 80 different species of medicinal plants. And I've been to their farm several times now. I love Jeff and Elise. They are the founders of Oshala Farm, and their quality is top notch. So I really can't thank them enough for supporting the Herbalist Hour. And if you'd like to support them, you'd be helping support us. So win-win-win. Not to mention the quality of their herbs is impeccable. They also sell other herbal products as well, such as teas and body care products and whatnot. But if you're looking to buy bulk herbs, check them out, oshalafarm.com. Last but not least, I'd love to thank our Herb Rally Schoolhouse members. Your support really means a lot to us. If you'd like to learn more about the Herb Rally Schoolhouse, you could simply go to herbrally.com/schoolhouse. And basically that's a membership area where our members receive access to lots of different herbal classes inside. There's herbal community discounts. There's a private Facebook group and so on. But really, your support of Herb Rally really means a lot to us. You can learn more at herbrally.com/schoolhouse. And don't forget to use coupon code podcast at checkout to get your first 30 days for free. Okay, that's going to do it for me today. Hope you enjoy this interview with Benjamin Zappin. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Welcome to the Herbalist Hour. This is where community gather, merging the power of people and flowers, the sweet and the bitter to the salty, the sour. Umami, it's time for the Herbalist Hour.
Welcome back to the Herbalist Hour. Today I'm really excited to have on Benjamin Zappin. Welcome to the show, Benjamin.
Hey, thanks, Mason. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm really excited to get to know you a little bit more. We've had a few chit chats over the years at various herb conferences and whatnot, but now I get you for a full hour. So here we go. Ben, what were you like as a kiddo?
I haven't stopped. Is one answer. Really feel connected to my youthful self and aspire to keep that intact. So, a smart-ass rascal who's curious and
nothing's changed.
And curious and extroverted and likes to form relationships and be outdoors and explore the things I like to explore now. So
totally.
I've always been a music lover.
Yeah, and actually, I do want to get into that a little bit later. You seem to be a music aficionado, looks like you may even practice music of some
Okay.
sort. But yeah. So what led you to the plant path, if you will? When did you start getting into herbalism and everything?
Yeah, I have a couple layered answer to that. I was at the right place at the right time is one of those layers. Like I was in Santa Cruz, California in the mid-90s, early mid-90s, and Chris Hobbs and Michael Tier ran this really great school called American School of Herbalism, classes a couple nights a week and weekends. And Santa Cruz has been a hub for industry, Chinese medical education, midwifery movement, all have a massive nexus there. And so the school was not just run by them. I got to study with both of them, but, had midwives of a variety of Chinese medical, Western herbal educator practitioners, really got a fast immersion into native flora. And also this was right after Deshay was passed, which was a big political movement, preserving herbal medicine as something that's not regulated by the FDA. So as an intersection of public outcry and industry outcry, one of our teachers was Roy Upton. And, and so all these folks remain friends and community and mentor inspirations. And so I landed in that when I was 20, and it really touched the hell out of me. The other part of that was grew up in a very medicalized environment, lost my brother and my father to illness that, they got good Western medical attention and that wasn't enough. And so, it was really soon after my father died of cardiovascular stuff that I found myself in this space to study with these folks. And that's been my life ever since.
I guess a couple questions. Have you always lived in California? And also, what drew you to traditional Chinese medicine?
Yes, I've always lived in California. I've lived in Southern California, Santa Cruz, Oakland, and now the Sierra foothills. Okay. And what drew me to Chinese medicine? It's what was around. It's right place, right time. It was part of the curriculum of my early herbal study. So I've always been studying Chinese and Western herbs since I set foot in the door of a classroom and signed up for a class. And all my teachers were acupuncturists or duly trained in Western and Chinese herbal medicine.
So you're currently a practicing acupuncturist to this day?
I'm currently a bean counting, skull cracking CEO.
Okay.
but I maintain
contrast.
I maintain licensure as an acupuncturist, and really stopped actively practicing when COVID started, and my business and family need me more than individuals that I might help in a clinic. Sure. It's that, that training is very much in service to our company, and a lot of a great majority of our commerce flows through the hands of licensed acupuncturists, which I know we'll talk more about later.
For sure. So you're a skull, what do you call it? Skull crushing CEO?
Skull cracking, bean counting.
Oh, bean counting CEO.
Is just always worried about money and personnel and all these things that we have to concern ourselves with as our enterprise expands.
I feel that definitely. Are you still involved with, say, some of the formulation and everything at Five Flavors, or is that kind of all set in stone at this point? Or
I'm involved in decision making, because we operate an herbal pharmacy. I'm having that. This is always an internal conversation for me. Where's my creative outlet, and where's my outlet as a person who aspires to be delivering herbal therapy? So I'm always working with practitioners to help formulate, and that's for individual patients. Always, kind of looking over the shoulder of the people who we're working with, both for contract manufacturing and through our pharmacy. We're always modeling things. We're not always releasing new things. I've been doing some R&D recently, which is really fun.
Sure.
And so that's something I love, and would love to occupy more of my time than some of the other things I do.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's tough to balance. With Herb Rally, I'll fall behind on the absolutely necessary, important, mundane tasks, say accounting and whatnot, in pursuit of creating these Herbalist Hour episodes, which I really enjoy doing. But it's at the detriment of, falling behind on all that boring but necessary admin stuff. So yeah, it's definitely a balance. So going back, you spoke about Michael Tierra, Christopher Hobbs. Who would you say attribute a lot of your herbal mentorship to?
Yeah, so Michael is who I did a 4-year clinical apprenticeship with, and so I actually got my license as an acupuncturist under his tutelage. And so that original container that I spent time in and continued to be in, that was he ran that school, and he also ran the East-West School of Herbology, which still exists. Those were things that I was an active participant in, and so got a lot of nurturing there, directly from Michael. And I'll always say that some of my greatest mentors are patients, and the scenarios that I get to see what herbs can and cannot do, and the herbs are mentors themselves. Chris is definitely a mentor to date. I think all my good teachers are people that I learn information from, but also learn how to live life from. And as I've been with some of these same teacher mentors for years, learning how to age and how to remain vital and curious and stimulated and in love with the natural world and humanity is something I'm getting from these original teachers. How to stay involved, how to stay politically involved. These guys are in their older decades, mentor teacher, also music teachers, that are in their 80s, still curious, still working, still having that be their life. Yeah. And so when I think of other models for aging that I've had that are you have a career and then that career is over and you're retired. I have these mentors that are in their 80s that are still hungry and curious and inspired. And it just blows my mind every day. I really give thanks for that.
Yeah.
Another original mentor that we're going to talk about, I'm just going to take one of your prompts on the gift of flowers.
Yes, please do.
Thomas Avery Guerin is, a brother and a close friend, and somebody who was much older and wiser than I, which means he was 25 when I was 20, and took me under his wing to do medicine making and wild harvesting right out of the gates, 2021. I was going on long tours with Thomas and working in as an apothecary and apprenticing with him and learning a lot of the craft of what I do. And so really give thanks for him. Also, that passion, that hunger, that curiosity for the botanical world was imparted, as well as what can plants do and how do you make plant medicine. So, now I run a botanical pharmacy and extract company that I received that mentorship and that inculcation into those roles when I was very, very young, ostensibly technically an adult, from Michael and Thomas, and spent that time under their wings. So give thanks for those guys every day. Still very close to both of them. And Thomas just took over Michael's school, East-West School of Herbology. So hope you'll feature that sometime in the near future. A lot of very skilled herbalists have come out of that container, and I think Thomas is really going to hold it with integrity and a lot of passion that people will feed off of.
Thomas Avery Guerin, yeah, he's someone I've never met before, so maybe you could make some sort of introduction for me. I would love to have him on the show.
Yeah, great. I'll introduce you guys. Also
Great.
very passionate about growing Chinese herbs in the West. And
Nice.
And looking at those intersections. And that's kind of, I can still remember going to the first introductory class for their school and them talking about the frontier of what Western wild plants might we use as substitutes for Chinese herbs. And that just hooked me so hard and hooked me for a long time. And now we're looking, okay, how does that fit into different sustainability models?
Yeah. Are you growing any Chinese herbs on your farm?
One thing that we've discovered is it's a lot easier to buy things from other companies and people who are doing things at scale and professionally. We grow many things that don't always make it into our products due to anything ranging from overwhelm to economy of scale to to mismanagement. But we grow Qinghao, we grow Sweet Annie, and that's very attractive. We grow Xuanfuhua, we grow Elecampane, which is actually used. Elecampane's used all over the world and is, I think, kind of an unsung, under-featured herb that most big companies kind of have in their products as a non-heroic botanical. And the flowers are commonly used, very similar to Grandelia, as a respiratory antispasmodic that descends the lung qi. And the roots are used as a substitute for a couple different medicinals that are common in Chinese medicine. So it's a recognized medicinal in Chinese medicine, although it's not taught as a major part of the corpus.
Yeah, I've never heard that before. I've heard you use the word botanical pharmacy a couple times now, or herbal pharmacy. Is that kind of like a behind the scenes term you use, say, like with your coworkers and everything? Or is that, I guess what I'm asking is, like, is that an actual legal term to use, calling it a pharmacy?
I comply with so many freaking rules. Like, just let me hang out in the gray area.
Totally.
My naivety for another few minutes before we get another letter from some regulatory agent.
Right. Because you're good friends with Asa Waldstein, are you not? Or
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. You're in the know.
Yeah. I'm in the know. We got the FTC letter. Asa actually. I'll say Asa and some of our suppliers are, we bought herbs from Mountain Rose from a long time. We bought herbs from New Herbs, really like Wilson, Steve Yeager. Those guys have really mentored our company.
Yeah.
And, they've become really great friends, and just their passion for what they're doing and delivering and creating community around herbal commerce and maintaining quality while retaining passion for the plants. They've really held us as mentors as we've grown our enterprise. So herbal pharmacy, I know a couple of people who ran non-herbal pharmacy businesses that they called apothecaries that got cease and desist letters from the pharmacy board. So we've chosen to not call our business a dispensary, because then you get associated with cannabis even more. We've been held up at gunpoint in our shop a couple times because people thought we were a cannabis store. We're like, we have like $300 cash. You guys can have it. We don't have any.
Wow, really?
They're like, oh, we thought you were a weed place. Well, we'll take the money anyway. Anyway, so I'll use that term because that's, we're an herbal pharmacy. I think that's actually on our website, and until somebody comes and says stop doing that, we'll probably just keep calling it that.
Right.
We've moved out of a wide variety of gray areas. The FTC thing that happened this year was like, we're no longer going to be a give you a warning letter enforcement culture. We're going to be a give you a fine culture that caused quite a bit of stir and stink, and the companies that know the rules know what to do to respond to that.
Just a quick break from the show to thank our presenting sponsor, Oshala Farm. Oshala Farm is a beautiful and vibrant certified organic herb farm based in southern Oregon, where they grow and sell over 80 different plant species. The founders, Elise and Jeff Higley, have been longtime friends, so I highly trust their growing methods and ethics. You'll love the potency and vibrancy of all the herbs they have to offer. To learn more and purchase their herbs and other organic goods, head to oshalafarm.com. So thanks once again to Oshala Farm for sponsoring the Herbalist Hour. Now back to the show. Enjoy. Well, I'm sure Asa's taken a glimpse at your website, and I'm guessing he would have said something if.
Well, he's not only said things, he's sent his analysis from his Apex company. You know, bless him for creating that. Like, he's really has a lot of ingenuity and real care, and so yeah, he's shined his light on us, and we've responded, and that kind of thing is an ongoing iterative process. It also helps if you get in hot water, demonstrate we're doing something. We're being proactive in these ways.
Yeah. Well, this is a good moment maybe to go more into depth about what Five Flavors Herbs is. Can you tell us more about your company?
Yeah. We are an octopus that is when the small business. So, my wife and I started making these formulas. We're running an apothecary in Santa Cruz called it Five Flavors. And we're making stuff like everybody does in their kitchen and their basement. And we moved from Santa Cruz to Oakland, and we had quite a few practitioners using extracts we were making. Western herbal extracts, Chinese herbal extracts. I was using them in my practice. And it became a nice basement stream of income. And the year that the GMP small business exemption was lifted, at some point you could have 10 employees or less and not be obliged to adhere to all the rigors of GMP. Once that was lifted, we said, this is enough of a stream of income that let's do what we need to do to protect it. And so we took out a lease in a space and took the steps to build that out and build out our SOPs and all those things. And here's the pharmacy we thought, well, what are we going to do in this extra space? And we said, we'll have a retail herbal pharmacy. And so that's still a thing. So we run a retail herbal pharmacy. Once we got this rolling, and this was 11 years ago, or maybe we were breaking ground about 11 years ago, we started getting inquiries about contract manufacturing right away. And like any good hungry business person with bills to pay, started saying yes to everything. And so, we can do that. We can do that. Like, look, we've got a triple sink and some SOPs. Like, we're GMP. We're FDA registered, which was, we did that right away. We knew that was part of the responsibilities. And so over that 10 years have built a lot of relationships as a contract manufacturer. We work with some very mature nutraceutical companies and are really proud of that, and proud to deliver good medicine through other hands. We work a lot through our herbal pharmacy and our products with probably 80% of our wholesale business that's not contract manufacturing, and about 80% of our pharmacy goes through Chinese medical practitioners, goes through licensed acupuncturists. And then we work with a wide variety of apothecaries across the country, stock their shelves, and are very proud of that. And really, one of the things that you can't get as mentorship, you have to make the crazy decision, is to serve your community. And the mentorship the community gives you by having that exchange. And while I think we're ready to not operate a retail brick and mortar business as soon as possible, really being part of the healthcare landscape in an urban area is something that we're extremely proud of and have learned a lot about. And really honored to do that, and really grateful for the community support. Being part of a practitioner community that I anchor us to via our Chinese herbal formulas and such, and knowing that, we're an extension. We're an extension of people's therapeutic engagement with their customers is very meaningful to me, very enlivening.
Well, you submitted a note of a specific talking point that you wanted to chat about related to Five Flavors Herbs. So I was wondering if you would want to talk about your experience operating an herbal pharmacy and contract manufacturing services, and the experiences that led to those being ways you commit to the herbal community.
Yeah. So the herbal pharmacy piece, the flexibility and freedom to have the resources you need to serve patients and provide customized medicine, not just out of the bottle herbal medicine, I think is, very meaningful to me. It's part of every herb tradition that I know of, the compounding and dispensing component. And for individuals to maintain an apothecary, it's a lot of time, energy, and money. And so, as I mentioned, I grew up as an herbalist working in Thomas's apothecary and helped maintain the Tierra's apothecary that served all the practitioners. And it's just always felt like home to me, and wanted to make that available to a wider audience and to our immediate physical community. But really, probably 60-70% of our commerce for our herbal pharmacy is throughout the country. And we maintain a very mature roster of Western and Chinese herbs that at this point we're mostly doing liquid extracts and granules. And we've discovered that it's not cost effective to serve bulk herbs up and be dispensing those and all the labor that goes into that. So,
for sure.
That's a love of mine. Like I think when I retire, I want to work in an herbal pharmacy and do herb consultations all day. And
that's your retirement gig?
That's my retirement gig, is doing the things that we started here. And as I mentioned, contract manufacturing of both bulk ingredients, like sending 55-gallon drums of different things to companies that they're going to further process, or making finished products for emerging brands, has been really fun. And seeing some of those brands take off and see what other people are doing that are brought, they're innovating, and we're supporting them in having a regulatory compliant healthcare innovation and brand that they're able to use as a extension of their therapeutic goals. And then these range from, we do a lot of women's health, a lot of fertility. We work a lot in the Lyme and infectious disease space. So the creators that we get to nurture and that we get to support, we're really honored to work with them. And so as we're continuing to define ourselves, we're like, we want to work with people who are herbal therapists, who have a vision and are going to be really having an impact in the environment, not just selling more tchotchke stuff out in the world.
So seeing clients and whatnot is one of your dream retirement gigs. What role does how passionate are you about like teaching herbalism? Are you currently teaching, and do you want to do more of that in the future?
Yeah, I love teaching, and I love getting to teach what I know really well. And the less I have to prepare for it, the better. It's something I've discovered. I've held down bigger curriculums and held down schools, and we actually do a fair bit of teaching to Chinese medical practitioners. I love to teach. I would love to teach more. There's been times where I traveled a lot more to teach, which has felt less sustainable for family and operating our business. But yeah, I love to teach about herbs and have opportunities to do that regularly. We often offer kind of impromptu free series through Five Flavors, just in service to our community.
Very cool. Well, maybe now's a good time for you to teach us a little bit about a couple of the plants that we talked about pre-call. Do you want to teach us, the Herb Rally audience, about California poppy?
Yeah, I think California poppy is one of those unsung herbs that all herbalists know about. Like, why isn't this a common drug plant? Why isn't this something that everybody's using for sleep and for anxiety and mood regulation and moderating undesirable thoughts and all the wonderful things that it does? I observed that California poppy is in the products of many a mature standard bearing herbal company, but it's rarely the featured thing that's getting messaged about or highlighted as the heroic thing. I don't know if it's not new and sexy. Like, I don't know why anybody's not tried to make it sexy anytime recently. Because everybody.
That's in your logo, isn't it? Is the California poppy in your logo?
It's part of our logo along with reishi mushroom.
That's right.
In terms of hallmarks of what is sustainable, like, it's easy to grow as an annual or perennialize it. It's easy to grow fairly short cycle. It's easy to grow in a wide variety of climates. You can grow it as a pot herb. It's an easy thing to teach people how to grow themselves, make their own medicine with, and experience the results. In terms of things that are easy to grow without too many inputs, they actually may like less inputs, and it's easy to grow a lot of it. Like, it meets all these benchmarks for sustainability. One of my other favorite things and things I like about many herbs is like the immediacy of it. So many people who are herb curious are looking for things on the health food store shelves or on the internet. They go to Dr. Google and are like, what can help me with my blank? And what's never messaged is this thing can help you really fast, and it can help mitigate your suffering and discomfort like lightning, and you can be experiencing less racing thoughts, less anxiety, maybe less pain. You can get to sleep really fast with this really powerful, very affordable, accessible, sustainable tool. So those are some things I love about California poppy. I work a lot with a lot of my clinical history has been working. I mean, everybody has mental health. We're all working on nurturing our mental health, and so everybody's navigating variations on the sleep, anxiety, worry spectrum. But I've worked a lot with people with more significant mental health concerns, and working a lot in the people are on antipsychotic type medications, working with their mania. Extreme states of consciousness is another kind of patient-centric term for that, and had an opportunity to explore herb drug space and what tools can we provide people with so they can really maintain autonomy, so that they can have agency in their health. And I think California poppy is extraordinary.
So when you say racing thoughts, is that kind of like those circular nagging thoughts, or is it more like, say, you're having, I don't know if I can use the word like panic attack or whatever, and you're saying it's working quickly?
I'm not trying to sell a product for this right now, so we can talk about anything we want.
Oh, touche. All right. Yeah, there you go. We do need to make California poppy sexy again. I've personally never really experimented with it at all. I've experimented with a lot of different herbs, but for whatever reason, it never drew me in. But you're right. It's ubiquitous. It is the California state flower, too, I want to say, if I'm recalling correctly. So say if I'm having an extreme moment of stress, is that something I could potentially lean on, is California poppy?
Yeah, absolutely. Some examples like road rage.
Keep it in the car.
Yeah, frustration, tech frustration, tech anxiety, tech anger. Get to those before that's actually a DSM-4 defined medication for which Prozac is approved. Tech agitation, I'm sure it's around the corner.
Totally.
Yeah, so variations of that, or just worry. Worry, monkey mind. There's a lot of ways to define that. Combines really well with skullcap. Combines really well with catnip, lemon balm. on the sleep spectrum, combines really well with valerian and hops, passion flower, those types of things.
All right, my homework is to go to the herb shop after this call and go pick up some California poppy tincture. I don't know if you know this, Ben, but I'm here in Wisconsin now, and come to think of it, I haven't seen California poppy out here once. I want to say, but it was all over when I lived in Oregon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you don't find it, let me know. I'll send you some.
Oh, that'd be lovely. Thank
I'll
you.
send you some anyway. Yeah.
Okay, there you go. I'll report back the results. Did you want to talk to us a little bit about yerba mansa?
Yeah. Yerba mansa is Anamopsis. I taught about this at IHS this year, which was really fun, and really thrilled that Susan invited us out to that. Our whole family got to go, brought our kids, awesome. And that was really special. And I also looked at the history of people teaching about yerba mansa, and really looked through the ethnobotany. Probably pronounced her name wrong. Dara Seville.
Oh yeah, Dara Seville. Yeah.
Go check out her writing on Anamopsa or yerba mansa. It's a mix of academic and passionate that I really, really love. I think that was maybe in the American Herbalist Guild Journal. And she's also maybe written a book about it too, but love those contributions. It's versatile, it's dynamic, it's a strong antimicrobial that you can use in formulation for fungi and bacteria and viruses, treats phlegm, can be used in arthritic, rheumatic type presentations, and can be used topically, internally. One of the reasons I love it is, and this is another one of the things we were looking to talk about, is what herbs are on that cusp of, a lot of people get passionate about wildcrafting, and I hate what the internet and social media have done for wildcrafting, because now everybody's like, I want to go forage plants, and it's next level extractionism, and I'm guilty of that too. I did that for a long time. I'm very passionate about it, and after I've seen the popularization, the kind of fetishization of wild harvesting, and learn more about the intersection of the industry and the unfavorable impacts, kind of drifted back to like, I barely wild harvest anything other than for personal use. Like there's very few things that we've pulled things out of our products because we've grown, and don't want to be telling people, go pick things in the wild. So yerba mansa is one of those things that I think is extraordinary, and think should be grown more. And I really like to highlight it as something that's fairly easy to propagate. We're growing a couple beds of it that it might be, and have discovered some other growers that are growing it on their property. And so we're able to source it now. And which reminds me, I need to contact some of those people. We're able to grow that and or source it from people who are cultivating it. So it's one of those things that's bridging the gap between potentially unsustainable wild harvesting in environments that are being encroached on by development, which Dara writes about very eloquently, as the history of development of the spaces that it used to grow very readily, and the history of the curation and decimation of that herb. And so long arc movements. This is why I really appreciate like what our friend Thomas is doing. And I know that a lot of big herb companies have made moves like this too that aren't always as visible. Investing in the long arc projects of agribusiness to make herbs sustainable. And, when there's something that has such a legacy in American herbalism like yerba mansa does, that if it got as popular as some of the other things that are really valuable, it would go the same way as golden seal. And so we have an opportunity to be advocating for cultivation, farming, concurrently with advocacy about use and teaching about it.
Did you say that article by Dara was in the United Plant Savers Journal?
No, I think she had in the Journal of the American Herbalist Guild.
Gotcha. Okay.
She wrote a piece, but I've also looked at her dissertation. She got a PhD that was focused on this. And
wow. Off the top of your head, I could just Google this, but I know yerba's herb. Do you know what mansa is, perchance?
Lizard.
You say, oh, lizard.
Lizard. It's also in the Sauraraceae family, which is the lizard family. And it's closely related to the other, and they might be the only two genus in that family, Houtinia cordata. And you'll see Houtinia cordata in a lot of, it's a easy to propagate, easy to keep as like a landscape zone. And it's a Chinese herb called yuxingcao, which means fishy smelling herb. And when you look in yuxingcao or Houtinia cordata, like you see it in garden centers throughout the United States. It's very common. It's eaten as a vegetable, but most of the actions and indications match up identically to applications of yerba mansa. So it may be easier if you're Sauraraceae curious to access Houtinia cordata than it is to get starts of. I think Richo sells starts of yerba mansa, but Houtinia may be easier to get starts of and start propagating and start exploring.
And just for the Herbal audience, that's Richo Check over at strictlymedicinals.com. I bought lots of seeds and plant starts from him throughout the years, including I bought a live calamus plant from him. So he's got a wide variety of different herbs you could buy from him. Thank you for teaching us about yerba mansa and California poppy. Did you want to go any more in depth on the whole wildcrafting front, or do you feel like you covered it there?
Yeah, I think I covered it. I mean, I don't like to explain people and tell people what to do. But like we've taught like Thomas and I, with Chris Hobbs and some other colleagues of ours, have taught a lot of field study classes, and I've had that experience of going back over almost 30 years and seeing some of these spots, and seeing where things are flourishing, and also seeing where a variety of things have encroached on habitats and stands, and really think we need to be doing discipline studies on these things and focusing the energy on doing discipline studies of sustainability rather than saying, well, it's okay if I go out and I still, more often than not, I go to some of the places that I used to go to wildcraft and just hang out and really appreciate the plants.
Amen. Yeah, on the one hand, go ahead.
For anybody listening who hasn't tuned into it, tune into Howie Brownstein's.
That's what I was just going to say.
His guidance and his guidelines for that. And you could probably say more about that, but honor his contributions to that dialogue.
Well, yeah. So on the one hand, I want to say promoting wild harvesting on social media seems like a beneficial thing in some ways, in the sense that you're getting people out in nature and connecting with nature and whatnot. But it also does seem kind of like it could be abused, and then all of a sudden you're having over harvesting of these plants that are getting popularized. Whereas what I would encourage people to do is, yes, go learn from, say, someone like Howie Brownstein, where they teach ethical wild harvesting, and it's over the course of a full year, where you're, every time you go out into the woods, you're going over this 19 bullet point wildcrafting checklist, and then always at the bottom it says wildcrafting is stewardship. But yeah, you really gotta know what you're doing. You can't just get like a 30-second clip from TikTok and think that you're, I don't know. There's definitely gray area. I feel different ways about it, but I highly encourage the listener to go to botanicalstudies.net, which is Howie's website. You can check out the wildcrafting checklist, but again, that's not enough. I think you really need to be a part of some sort of apprenticeship to learn these wildcrafting techniques. I was hoping, do you have any sort of advice for someone looking to become a clinical herbalist?
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing, I really want to pay respect to American Herbalist Guild for having some guidelines and some curricular checklist that's a self-audit checklist. I know the organization's been controversial amongst herbalists for a long time, but they've really made some moves towards greater inclusivity, while also holding a scaffolding, holding a set of audit tools for what does your curriculum look like. And I think whenever you, herbalists are wild, and whenever you try to create boxes around them, that'll get problematic. I'd say working with people in an actual clinical setting, and seeing what herbs can really do, and making sure that it's not an abstraction, I think is really important. I wanted to celebrate as a ramp up to your describe what's going on in this Instagram picture.
Oh yeah, totally.
Like I just always celebrate that Seven Song takes his students to the Rainbow Gathering like in the first month of studying with him.
Yeah.
And you get to see herbs work. You get to be the agent who's delivering herbs to people. You get to explore caring for people, and you get to see what herbs don't do. And a lot of people put years and thousands of hours into herbal study, and they never get any of that. And it's, a lot of it's very abstracted, intellectual, and a lot of people are experts posturing and teaching that have really not done that much on the ground stuff. And so where can you get that immersion and see what they can and can't do? I'm so thankful that I got years of that before I ever hung a shingle and said I'm a professional. I helped a lot of people along the way, more casually, but before I ever hung a shingle and said I'm a professional. Years of experience, and I'm still I'm still learning what I don't know.
So with the modern world doing a lot of things over Zoom, do you think it's important for apprentices to be in person, or can they also learn through online?
I think learning online, there's a lot of open vistas as a result to that. I think you can learn your limits online as long as teachers are helping people understand what the limits of what they're learning is. I think that's really valuable. So it's democratized access to more great teachers. It's a beautiful thing. A lot of the diagnostic skills that I value are really best achieved in person. Yeah. I use palpation of the body, of the pulse, the experience of a person in your presence. There's a lot of 3D that you get that you don't get. I also do Zoom, I also do remote consultations with people. So I can help people a lot remotely all the time. And also really feel the limitation of that and just close that with people.
Yeah. Do you do tongue diagnostics as well online?
Yeah. And there's limitations to that.
Sure.
But you definitely can't take a pulse or touch somebody's body.
Right. Exactly. Well, do you have any, I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you, do you have any herbal business advice? You seem like the perfect person to ask.
Yeah. Do a business planning course.
Like that.
So, like, where are you? What, some of the advice I give people is like, what do you have to risk and lose? Because often people are asking me, should I take this risk? And sometimes that risk is a real risk. And I say, well, do you own a house or like have money that people can sue you for? And, or how much time do you have to risk in exploring this? I've definitely made choices in my life where I was leaving a stable stream of income to go do the thing 40 to 60 hours a week. And it didn't work out. And, so, what's the line? God bless the child who's got his own stash, $5 in his pocket and his own place to crash. Keep your day job. I
like that.
That's a bad Grateful Dead song.
Okay.
Keep your resources lined up so you're not exhausting yourself or burning yourself out. We're still confronting burnout in our business and trying to navigate that and what is sustainable for us. Yeah. And that's always something to look at and look for. Understand laws and regulations before you start the business. We've definitely had some big get our pants pulled down by what we didn't know, and inversely, we think like fire code. I know other herb companies that have transitioned from being a manufacturer of their own product to working with third-party manufacturers because they got to that, we learned the hard way about fire code. And we had that experience of learning the hard way about fire code, like building out a space, local municipality getting up in our business and saying, you need to be inspected by a fire protection engineer. And, because we're working with flammable, combustible ethanol. And that resulted in us having to forfeit that space because it didn't meet our existing capacity. Learned that our existing space was way out of code. And we built out a space where we work now that is up to fire code, that's planned by a fire protection engineer and all these things. So had we known all that, we never would be doing what we're doing. We never would have gotten to where we are if we knew that we had to invest in that expense. And so same with GMPs. Like there's so many things, like to actually be doing this and start a company, you need $1 million to start it. So it's like, how do you bootstrap these things and how much time do you have to do that? So
lots of hurdles.
Was that the optimistic plan? Was that the optimism everybody was hoping? I'm just kidding.
It's practical.
Take an online course on how to sell things, and I'm just kidding. Another piece of advice for people who want to be a clinical herbalist, like get a nursing degree, get a license that pays you, where there's jobs out there, is a piece of advice that may or may not be true for everybody, but it's, become a dietitian, where different states have different licensures, but or become, like Michael Tiero always said, get a bodywork license. Like you see so many people who are out there, like there's more people who want to pay $150 to be touched than they do to have you tell them to take herbs and stop eating things they like. And, finding pathways that are well-worn business moves to have as an adjunct to your herbal studies can be very wise.
Would you believe it? Dr. Ingrid Bauer had this same advice, essentially, coming from her. She's a doctor and whatnot. She suggested become a nurse. And I'd never heard that before, but that sounds so practical. I love that. And at the same time, you're learning how the body works, and you're making a nice paycheck along the way.
The other piece of advice I throw out to people when they have various idealism and like, are you going to get into debt that you can't pay? And what quality of life, standard of living are you accustomed to? And in 10 or 15 years, like that is that your parents have put you up with, how is that going to be available to you? Like, how awesome is this squat going to be when you're 40?
Right. Right. Totally. That's good practical stuff. Thank you, Ben. Well, as you alluded to earlier, why don't we check out this Explain That Gram picture? And I stole this segment directly from a YouTube show called Hot Ones, where basically I show you an Instagram picture and you kind of explain the greater story. So I'm just kind of curious. So what's going on here?
Seven's son come visit us earlier this summer. He was in California and he said, can I come visit? We said, great. You want to teach some classes? So he taught some herbal first aid classes. And then we had a potluck at our house and invited some of our friendly neighborhood herbalists. Kathy Cavill really kind of magnetized us to our community that we live in now. And, she invited us when we were doing field studies in the mountains and said, come hang out at my house and, see how cool it is up here. And we said, hey, do you mind if we move up here? And she said, no. and so then like our neighborhood caught on fire and we had to be evacuated. And she put us up. Like, Kathy's really a love, and she's really been doing herbal medicine nationally and locally since the early 70s, and ran tea companies and is still living this and teaching this, and still takes her jars to the co-op. Another example of, mentorship of like how to stay authentically in the value system that we might be inculcated with when we're young and stray from.
Yeah.
And, it's like, oh, wow, Kathy really goes and gets her bulk grains at the co-op in jars. I need to see that. It's beautiful. And, she's an extraordinary author, educator, and a lot of fun. And so she came and hung out, and Chris Hobbs lives like an hour up the road, but kind of right off the same road. The 49 corridor is the old gold rush route that transects a certain elevation in the Sierra Nevada. And so they came over and hung out and talked about plants and talked about herbs, and it's a lot of fun, and ate some food that we grow on our farm and watched the sunset. So that's actually in our sheep paddock is where that picture is taken. And that's our chicken coop behind those friends. And, it's beautiful fellowship. And I've often heard it said the best part of being an herbalist is hanging out with herbalists.
Yeah.
And,
I like that. Yeah. I didn't realize Kathy was so close to you all, but I love Kathy. I miss her. I should have her on the show. By all means, have Kathy on your show. She's really an encyclopedia of herbal traditions and festivals, and has some really beautiful historic wisdom. She also contributes a weekly radio show on our local, Pinko radio program. Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Is it about herbs?
Yeah, it's about herbs and plants and botanical culture of all sorts.
Awesome. Is she still doing that that journal? I want to say it's AHA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think she still puts that out.
That's awesome.
Quarterly.
Okay. Very cool. Well, we're about to wrap up here, but I really wanted to ask you, what's your relationship to music like? Like I said, you seem to be an aficionado, music obsessed person. So what's going on there?
Hopelessly obsessive is what my relationship to music is like. Really love to, I grew up playing instruments, had piano lessons as a kid, decent school music programs. I mean, really pretty good school music programs in Long Beach, and played in big bands and marching bands and symphonic programs, and, stayed through that in college, and, played in some funk bands and stuff like that. And when I made more of a commitment to study natural medicine, I wasn't able to practice hours a day. But I've been a hopelessly devoted go see live music person, and I listen to albums all day, and, I'm listening to live music all the time. Really held that obsession since I was 4 or 5, needed to be on the radio, needed to be at the turntable. I've passed this on to my kids. And I still play woodwinds, and I study guitar, and I like to, I have a series of music teachers that are still who I hold in very high esteem and like to collect as friends and family, in addition to really trying to honor them by putting time into instruments. I just went to a week-long Brazilian music camp where I played saxophone, playing big band music 8 hours a day, learning about all these different styles. And so it's a big part of where my heart and mind are at in any given moment.
I've interviewed about 70 people for the Herbalist Hour now, and I want to say Grateful Dead's come up about 20 times. Would you say you're a Deadhead?
I would say that, one of those, I only got to see Jerry play 150 times. and I'm reminded when I look on social media, that, it's one of those things, it's the only reason I wish I was older. And then I see I see people older than me having health concerns. So I'm like, okay, good reminder, or more burnout. So yeah, definitely like put a good hour a day into listening to some Jerry Garcia live recording on average.
Yeah.
And maintain a healthy obsession with that, which is amazing. Archive.org is incredible.
Any chance you crossed paths with Steven Yeager back in the day at a show?
Definitely at quite a few of the same shows. And I think you might have gotten mixed up with this for a minute, Mason, like being on the Steven Yeager text you at 1 in the morning, the 1 in the morning Steve Yeager text chain,
yes,
which is a very exclusive and elite group that
totally. I still get those. Yep.
You listened to this version of Queen Jane approximately from 1990.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to keep sending this until we talk about it. So we do a lot of that, and it's fun. It's like. Chris Hobbs also is like, oh yeah, I saw the Grateful Dead 75 times before 72, like real ground floor Bay Area heads that, that's like, I went and saw John McLaughlin and Zakir Hussain with Chris the other night. I spend 80% of my fellowship with Herbalist time talking about music.
Yeah.
So I won't out all the other heads out there that I, get high with or whatever.
I shall remain innocent. And you said you passed along your love of music to your kiddos too?
Yeah. They are equally really like, they turn me on to music. Like, Dad, have you heard the new King Gizzard album? Listen to this. Cool. Like drove across the state. Had like a 3 or 4 hour car drive with my kids. Our younger kid passed out, who's more like listens to some butt rock that is hard. Schooling us on old school metal. Like my 15-year-old daughter is like, we listened to 4 albums consecutively.
Wow.
And it was deep and it was beautiful. And it was really thoughtful listening and discussion of lyrics and elements of style. And, I wish they were more dedicated to playing.
For sure.
It's one of those parenting gaffes, or it's like my desire to play music has resulted in them resisting and avoiding it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing all you did today, Ben. That was a lot of fun. You got someone there?
Somebody's coming in.
No worries.
Yeah, thank you, Mason. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Yeah. Did you have any closing thoughts or want to plug anything? Or
thank you for your contributions.
Thank you.
And really honored your contributions and the heart that you brought to Mount Rose when you were there. And I love the segue into your current project and like what you're bringing out there for herbal medicine and how you're helping voices be heard.
So much.
Some of it's helpful for commerce, and some of it's just really using the technological tools that are available to us to broadcast really important voices.
Thank you.
Yeah,
that's what I like to think my role is. So yeah, really appreciate you saying that. Awesome. Well, we'll wrap it up and let you get. Oh yeah, go for it.
In terms of plugging anything,
yeah.
If anybody wants to check out what we're doing, check out 5flavorsherbs.com. Send an email. The pharmacy resource, I think, is very unique nationwide, and we're always fishing for our next contract manufacturing customer.
Absolutely. Sure. 5 Flavors Herbs, and that's flavorsherbs.com.
Yeah, all spelled out.
There you go. I'll leave a link in the podcast show notes and whatnot. So thanks you all for listening, and thanks to you, Ben, for joining me on the Herbalist Hour. We'll see you in the next episode. Take care.
Appreciate it.
And that's going to do it for today's episode. Thanks so much for listening to the Herb Rally podcast. If you'd like to hear more from us here at Herb Rally, we now have a text message community, believe it or not. Basically, it's just updates from us. We send about 1 to 7 texts per week, notifying you about new events, videos, courses, podcasts. You get the idea. It's pretty much like our email newsletter, just in text form. So if you'd like to receive text messages from Herb Rally, just text JOIN, that's JOIN, to the number 541-256-2895. Again, that's join to number 541-256-2895. And to stop receiving text, that's easy too. Just text STOP to the same number. It'll opt you out immediately. Okay, thanks again for listening. Have a great rest of your day.